Hi everyone, so in this video I'm going to be covering how a key part of my paracosm functions. Now for those who are new to paracosms, what is it? It is an imaginary world that is typically started in childhood and normally left in childhood. But I did not leave mine and I've been continuing mine for over 20 years now. In the previous video I uploaded in my channel, I talked a lot about what is a paracosm and some of my experiences having one. But in this video, we're going to be talking about my paracosm is centered around my stuffed toy hedgehog Chutney that I bought when I was 9 years old. And the paracosm Chutasia, which is my paracosm, is the world which Chutney is from. So how can I know which world that she's from or about her life if she's a stuffed toy? Her mouth doesn't open on its own. She can't move her limbs without help. How can I know where she's from? We did discuss in the last video that she's experiencing a bit of fur loss on her face, that we're calling her inverse moustache. So no comments about Chutney's inverse moustache, please. So how do I know about where she's from? We have to start giving a little bit of information now about Chutasia and the paracosm. So Chutasia is a realm filled with Chutasian hedgehogs. Now, Chutasian hedgehogs are not really like Earth hedgehogs. They're a lot more like hedgehog stuffed toys. But in Chutasia, they can move and talk on their own. So, how did a Chutasian hedgehog end up inside the body of a stuffed toy hedgehog bought by a 9-year-old in England on the planet Earth? So in Chutasia, there's a mix of different types of technology. Most of Chutasia is still approximately in the kind of medieval period, but there is part of Chutasia which is more industrial, a bit like the Industrial Revolution, and there is a very specific part of Chutasia which has a community of inventors and scientists. This community is called Catching Cliffs, and in this Catching Cliffs community, there is an inventor who is called Mr. Hognet. Now, Mr. Hognet, the inventor, he has invented an interdimensional time travel microwave machine, in which any hedgehog that goes inside the microwave, we do not recommend doing this on planet Earth, but any hedgehog that goes inside the microwave can enter into a realm which is called the time soup. Now, in the time soup, the essence of the Chutasian hedgehog goes into the broth and their Chutasian body floats in the time soup like a big crouton. Now, inside the time soup, there are loads of what is called in Chutasia, timeline noodles. And these are like loads of different noodles of different timelines that are happening in lots of different dimensions, all over, well, of everything that is. There are these timeline noodles. And now what has happened is that Chutney, the Chutasian hedgehog, and I share a special bond. We're kind of like two sides of the same coin. And so when Chutney's essence went into the time soup broth, it was very, very attracted and pulled into the timeline noodle that little 9-year-old Sarah was on. And then what happened, she showed up on Earth and inhabited the body of a stuffed toy hedgehog that I had just bought in a restaurant with my family. Now, what has happened over the years is that we have developed a telepathy because we're kind of two sides of the same coin. I can hear her, and I think that she can hear me a bit even when I'm not speaking, and so she can tell me, wave at the camera, etc. And so what happened is, of course, as with anything, when you've got a new skill, in the beginning, our telepathy was a bit of a work in progress. And so some of the things that I thought were true about Chutasia when I was 9 years old and I started drawing the map of Chutasia and the different place names, some of them were misunderstandings between the two of us. There was a bit of a communication error sometimes, and that can explain why things in Chutasia sometimes we learn later were misunderstandings. The other thing we need to take into account then, when we're looking at the information that I'm going to be sharing on my channel about the realm of Chutasia and the life of Chutney, is that we are being told this by Chutney. So, if she forgets something, or if she makes a mistake, that is the version that we will be told. And crucially, if Chutney, she's a bit cheeky. If she makes up something, she could just make up things about Chutasia and tell us. Like, it is possible that Chutasia is completely made up. So we must bear that in mind when we're listening to the stories from Chutasia. They can change. There can be mistakes. There can be issues with the telepathy. And sometimes cheeky Chutney might be exaggerating or embellishing some stories of her own. So we'll put Chutney back on the table carefully. So another phenomenon that can occur is that there are sometimes events or names or things between Earth and Chutasia that seem very close, like sort of very uncanny coincidences, like almost so coincidental you wouldn't really even believe they were a coincidence. So for instance, the language that we're speaking now, which we would call the English language, sounds a lot like the primary language spoken in Chutasia. So how can this be if it's not just a coincidence? So if we think back to the time soup and the different timeline noodles, what can happen when all those noodles are swirling around the time soup broth is that they sometimes bump into each other. And when the noodles bump into each other, information can be passed between the timelines. So that's different places, but also different times. So presumably what's happened is that at some point the Earth timelines bumped into the Chutasia one and passed the English language, would be what you might expect. But, I mean, it could have been the other way around. It could be that we're all speaking Chutasian. So that explains sometimes why there are coincidences. And those little bumps and information passages, we call those influential leaks. So it's like information is leaking from one world into another. And there are quite a lot of those in Chutasia. So what has Chutney told me about Chutasia? You can find that out in the video linked on the screen. Now, if you're watching this video at the time of upload, that video is going to be uploaded in a couple days' time. So if you don't want to miss it, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to put the notification bell on, and we will see you all next time.